Ooh, stick around, ladies and gentlemen, because we done knocked out Jambalaya. Time to get you a pot. Heat it up. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set this to like a medium heat. About right there. Maybe close to medium low, but that's about right. We'll let that heat up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, over to our prepping area. We get crack-a-lacking. So what we have here is 1 pound of pork cut into cube-like pieces. At my local grocery store, you can buy it like this, already pre-cut. But I assume that this meat here is probably cut from a pork roast. So you can always buy a pork roast and do it yourself. Over here, we have 1 pound of skinless, boneless thighs. We've trimmed a good bit of the fat off of it. I know you can still see some fat there, but that's okay. It's going to give us some flavor. And over here, we have sliced up 1 pound of smoked sausage. Now down in this region, we have our vegetables. So what we have here is 1 green bell pepper, 2 yellow onions, 4 cloves of garlic, 1 bunch of green onion, and 2 sticks of celery. And you guys already know what comes next. Choo! Hiya!
What is bravery but the body's wisdom of its strength?
Ladies and gentlemen, get that move to the refrigerator for now. So we've taken our pork and laid it out over our cutting board here so we can season it up. We're going to season it generously with some kosher salt and then some black pepper. Go ahead and sprinkle that on. And then from here, we'll mix it all up with our hands so that all the pieces of meat are seasoned evenly. And there you go. So now we're going to get searing. Over to our hot pot, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. We're going to move the pot around so that it coats evenly. Okay, once you have the bottom of the pot evenly coated, go ahead and drop in the pork. Woo! And we got all of it. Just gonna move around in there. There we go. So look, when you're doing this, you don't necessarily want to move the pork right away. You kind of want to let it sear up like this one right here. You know, they all kind of do that, so that way it'll release from the pot or pan you're cooking in. You know, if you go too soon, then it'll still kind of stick. You can kind of see over here, because it's probably not as hot. See how it's still sticking? This one right here is not even coming up yet. And then what'll happen is when you do that, you'll just have a bunch of pieces that are stuck to the bottom. So just let it sit for a little bit and then start moving things around and just continue to sear it up from there. So we're going to let this meat sear up for about 20 minutes. The pork needs to go a little longer than anything else because it takes a little longer for it to tenderize. The chicken won't take as long, and we don't want to add the pork and chicken together because if you do that and cook it for that length of time, the chicken will dry out. So that's why we go with cooking the pork down like this first. All right, guys, we are looking good here. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and add our chicken to this pot. Now, look, I know some of y'all are going to be like, oh, my gosh, you're cross-contaminating. Look, if you got fresh meat and you're adding it all together and it's all going to cook down, believe me, you're going to be all right, all right? It's about cooking it down. That's what you're doing, okay? But we didn't want to cook the chicken as long as the pork, and I've already explained that. So now we're adding it in a little later, and we're going to let this cook down for another 10 minutes here, you know, just let the chicken get browned up nicely, and then we'll go from there. Okay, this looks great. It's been roughly 10 minutes. So now we're going to go ahead and start scooping this out and put it into a bowl off on the side here. So just try to get everything you can out of here into this bowl. Okay, now that you have that removed, you go ahead and drop in your sausage. and we get cooking. So we're going to go ahead and sear this sausage up for roughly 10 minutes as well. We want to brown it up nicely and get some of the fats removed here, and we can use all of that with our vegetables when we saute them. So look guys, I just want y'all to know that during these times of searing your meat, you can play around with your heat a little bit. If you feel like you want to see it brown up a little bit more in the allotted time, go ahead and just raise your fire a little bit. But just be cautious, because if you're cooking in something like a coated cast iron pot, once that heat gets up there, it's hard to bring it back down quickly. So, play around with it, do your thing. Looking good. Got some nice browning forming on the bottom, which is going to work out great. So now we're going to go ahead and remove this. And I went a little longer on my sausage. Just felt like it needed to brown a little more than the 10-minute time frame. But look, you guys are not restricted to anything I say here, and neither am I. You kind of sometimes just got to call some audibles while you're cooking. Looks good. Okay, at this time, we drop in our vegetables. And you already know, scoop all that in. All right, we're going to get moving on this because we want to break up all that stuff on the bottom. I know it probably looks burnt, but it's a good dark brown, and it's going to help bring some color to all of this. So just keep moving it around. Look at that. As you can see, guys, we done broke it all up. Now, look, you're going to have some little bits all up in your vegetables here, but don't worry about that. Trust me, that is flavor that you have just broken up and put all around these vegetables that came from the pork, the chicken, the sausage. It's all going to cook down in the end, and it's going to add some great flavor to your jambalaya. Okay, so look, we've been cooking this down for about 5 minutes now, and we're going to go much longer. I mean, probably 40 minutes to even up to an hour. We want these vegetables to get extremely soft. Watch them brown up a little bit here, and it'll be perfect for our jambalaya, because then they won't be crunchy in there. They'll just be one with that soft rice and tender meat. It's going to be really good. All right, so we've been cooking this down for roughly 20 minutes now, and as you can see, it is getting tender. And you can see that color change. It's browning up a little bit here. But we're going to continue cooking this down. We're going to go probably another 20 minutes at this point, and then just see where we at from there. But we want it to get really soft. Okay, so we've been going for another 10 minutes here, and we're going to go a little longer. But at this point, I'm going to actually add some seasoning to this. So what I'm going to throw first is 3 beef bouillon cubes. Bouillon! I'm going to blend those around a little bit here. Keep things moving. Okay, next I will add 1/2 tablespoon of your favorite Cajun or Creole seasoning. And then blend that around. Next we will add a teaspoon of salt, just to give it a little more flavor and not more spice. This is looking good. So look, at this time you want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 300 degrees. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we sauteed this for probably about 50 minutes total. And as you can see, it has browned up nicely. So at this time, we're going to add about 3.5 cups of water. I'm going to add a little bit at a time here, just so I can kind of break up the bottom. So there's a little bit. I'm just going to really break up the bottom there and do our thing. All right, going to go ahead and add the rest of it now. There we go. All right, from here you add a tablespoon of your favorite hot sauce. All right. Next, I like to add a tablespoon of some browning sauce, which, some people have their qualms over it. Hey, you do your thing. I know for me, I use water, so that typically will not bring as much color as, let's say, chicken stock. I got the right amount of seasoning in here. I don't want to add more sodium, so this is how I do it. You do you, all right? But as you can see, that brings a nice color to this right here, which is going to give us a great color to our jambalaya. From here, we will add back in our meats slowly if we can without damaging anything. There we go. Perfect. Get all those juices in. Get those blended in there nicely. Okay, from here we will add 2 cups of rice. Now look, typically I like to go with a 1 cup of rice to 2 cup liquid ratio. But here we have so much other things going on in this pot that there's going to be some moisture from the vegetables, the meats. So I go with 3.5 cups of water here, and it works out just fine. Trust me. All right, from here we're going to raise our fire up so we can get this thing to a rolling boil. Just to let you know, we will be covering this up and then putting it in the oven once we reach a boil. So if you follow this method, you want to have a pot that can go in your oven. If you do not have a pot that can go in the oven, once you reach boiling point here, you will cover it up, lower to simmer, and then let it cook for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes is up, you will take the pot, remove it from the heat off to the side, let it sit for another 5 minutes, and then from there you can open it, stir it up, and you'll be good to go. And we are boiling. So we cover this up, turn that fire off, and move this to the oven. We're going to let that cook for 1 hour. Time is up. Now we remove it from the oven. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let this sit here another 5 minutes before we uncover it.
HDTV don't mean that much to me, 'cause I got higher definition in my reality.
Let's take a look at this. Bam. Woo-hoo. Oh yeah, look at that. Yes indeed. Oh, look at that rice, just moist as can be. Ooh, don't fall out. Yes indeed. And look, not even sticking to the bottom. Bam. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the ultimate meaty jambalaya. Oh, that looks so good. Whew. Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to play around too much here. This time I go ahead and plate up. Oh, man. This is just Louisiana at its finest, you know? Jambalaya is just one of those things that just speaks to your soul down here. And man, I tell you, I love doing it this way. I love finishing it off in the oven because you get to actually do jambalaya low and slow, you know? Typically, jambalaya is done outdoors in festivals and parties and, you know, outdoor cast iron pots and burners. But like this, in the house, in the oven, low and slow, the flavors come together like nothing you've ever done before. At least in my opinion. I get it. There's a bunch of you excellent jambalaya cookers out there. Please do not take this as me saying,
this is the best.
I just really like it. Man, my mouth is watering. Look at that, guys. Look how beautiful that is. Whew. The color's good. Smells amazing. And I got me a little bit of white beans to go with it. You know, just a little side. Let's take a bite. Man, I am like salivating for real. Woo, we got some sausage, some chicken, and some pork. All in one. Ooh, sorry about that. Mm. Mm. Oh man, this is really good. Those flavors. Oh man, it just excites so many taste buds at once that you're kind of like wondering what's going on, you know? A lot of that seasoning that we added in there has now soaked into the rice. So the rice itself alone is super flavorful, which if you've never had jambalaya, that's not something you're used to. Rice on its own is usually kind of plain, and then you add something to it to complement it. But right here, the rice is just, it's like so flavorful. It's really good. The chicken, the pork, even the sausage are like really tender. So when you bite down in them, they just kind of melt in your mouth. That melody of vegetables brings about such a unique flavor to this. That onion in there kind of gives it this little bit of hint of sweetness that you wouldn't really know is there unless you're paying attention. And then everything else just complements the whole pot. It's so good. Little white beans. White beans complement. Well, all right, guys. We did it. We knocked out some chicken and sausage, pork jambalaya, and it's amazing. Now look, I know many of my OGs has seen me knock out jambalaya way in the past. I've been wanting to do one in better quality, you know, high definition. The original videos I did a long time ago were in a vertical format. Now we have it in landscape mode. I feel like I really broke it down this time. Did a little bit things different from the first video, and I love the way it came out. It's really good. I hope you guys give it a try. And like I said, if you can't finish in the oven, just follow those directions I gave you in the video on how to finish it off on the stove, and it should work just as good. So, although I do think the flavors really come together a little more low and slow. But hey, that's just my opinion, all right? It is what it is. Other than that, I got nothing else for you guys. Thank y'all very much for tuning in once again, and I'll see you soon. Paya!
Don't mean that much to me, 'cause I got higher definition in my reality. What's happening?